So in class last week we had a look at solving special cases of quadratic equations, and now rather than just looking at special cases, I'm going to give you a formula that you can use to solve any quadratic equation. So as you'll remember from class, a quadratic equation is an equation of the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, and we can manipulate the equation so that we get 0 on this side by just adding or taking away from c. And you should also remember that a, b, and c are the coefficients of the equation. And this formula that I'm going to give you, it uses these coefficients to find us a solution for this equation, or if there's no solution, it will show us that there is no solution. So, the formula is x1 and 2, so both of them are given by minus b plus or minus, which is where we get our two solutions from, the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Now, in maths, I hope you've realised by now that I don't normally ask you to remember things off by heart. But this one is one that's really worth learning off by heart. You'll notice in the book it also gives you, it calls this the big formula, the big solution formula, and it also gives you a small solution formula for when the case when a is equal to 1. So you just have x squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. But actually, I think it's a bit of a waste of time learning both, because this one works for anything, and you just need to remember to put a in as 1 here, and then you can figure out using b and c. And it's a waste of brain space. I only have ever bothered learning this one here, but because I've only ever learnt one, it's been a very important one. So I'm going to put it in a little picture frame to show you how important it is. It needs to be hung up in our mathematical gallery. You might find in some examination papers you're given this formula, but I would say that things change all the time, so it is worth learning it. And also, learning it means a familiarity with how to use it. So you'll notice here that we have a square root. And actually, what's under this square root is called the discriminant. So that's another z, that's b squared minus 4ac. And it gives us really important information about how many solutions it has. So we have three cases. If the discriminant, we'll call it d. If d is bigger than 0, then our quadratic equation has two solutions, because we can take the square root of a positive number, and then we need to do minus b plus it divided by 2a, and then minus b minus it divided by 2a. So if d is bigger than 0, then we have two solutions. If d is equal to 0, then we have minus b plus or minus the square root of 0, which is 0, divided by 2a. So we have minus b over 2a. So that just gives us one solution, because the two solutions only arise from the fact that we can have a positive and a negative square root, but of course that doesn't happen when d is equal to 0. The final case is if our discriminant d is less than 0. So if we have a small number here, if I had b was 1, and I have 1 squared, and I had c and a were also 1, so I had x squared plus x plus 1 is equal to 0, then I've got 1 minus 4, then I want to take the square root of negative 3 or minus 3, which of course doesn't work mathematically. I can't think of a number I would multiply by itself to come up with a negative number. That doesn't work. So if d is less than 0, then the square root of that number doesn't exist, so therefore we have no solutions. So actually, if you're just asked how many solutions a quadratic equation has, all you need to do is calculate what the discriminant is b squared minus 4ac, and then see if it's bigger than 0, equal to 0, or less than 0. So let's practice this with some examples. So our first example we have is this one, and let's see first of all how many solutions we're expecting. Let's figure out our discriminant. b squared minus 4ac, which was what was under the square root sign of our original formula. So here we have a is equal to 3. That's what comes before the x squared. b is equal to, well, we don't actually have any numbers, but if we don't have a number, then we assume that it's 1, and actually b is minus 1 in this case. Don't make the mistake of saying that b is 0 in this case, because of course if we had 0 times x, there'd be nothing there, and there wouldn't be an expression in this position. So b is minus 1, and c is equal to minus 10. And actually the formula itself is really easy to use, as long as you're really careful about your pluses and minuses. So our discriminant, b squared minus 4ac, becomes minus 1 squared minus 4 multiplied by 3 multiplied by c, which is minus 10. So I have minus 1 squared is 1. Then I have minus 4 times 3, which is minus 12. Times by minus 10, well, a minus times a minus is a plus, so I have 1 plus 121. Oh, 120, sorry. So, 1 plus 120 is 121. So my discriminant is greater than 0, so therefore I'm going to expect 2 solutions. So let's put it into our formula and see. Well, we have x1, 2 is equal to minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. And this discriminant here under our square root, we've already figured that out, so we don't need to do that again. So actually figuring out the discriminant didn't give us really any extra work. So minus b, well, that's minus 1, which will become plus 1 in our next step, plus or minus the square root of our discriminant, 121, all divided by 2a. Well, a is 3, so I need 2 times a, 2 times 3, which is 6. So I have minus 1, which is 1, plus or minus the square root of 121, I happen to know is 11, divided by 6. So I know that x1 is going to be 1 plus 11 divided by 6, which is 12 divided by 6, which of course is 2. And x2 will take the minus variant, the negative square root, because minus 11 times minus 11 is 121 as well. 1 minus 11 over 6, which is minus 10 over 6, which I can cancel. 2 goes into 6 3 times, 2 goes into 10 5 times, so I get minus 5 over 3. And we can quickly check our answers. So first of all, let me take blue. Let's check the answer 2. So I have 3 times 2 squared, which is 4, minus 2 minus 10. Let's see what we get. 3 times 4 is 12, take 2 is 10, take 10 is 0. Perfect. Let's check this one then in purple. 3 times minus 5 over 3 squared is going to be 25 over 9 minus x, so as it's negative, it's plus 5 over 3 minus 10. So we can cancel this 3 with this 9, and we get 25 over 3. Plus 5 over 3 is 30 over 3 minus 10, And of course, that cancels to 10 minus 10, which again gives us 0. And that works. And actually, try another number in here and prove to yourself that it doesn't work, that these two are definitely the only solutions. Show that to yourself. I recommend that. In the next video, I'll do a further example, just so we get a bit of practice using this formula, because as I said, it's so important that we need to be really comfortable with using it all the time.